afternoon, everyone. It's 2 p.m., that time where we come and share some parenting tips, not just tips. Welcome to this live broadcast. My name is Maribel Chima, and I'm super excited to be on your screen. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're looking at the danger of raising unprepared children. Right. Now, an unprepared child, this is the irony. An unprepared child is first a sabotage to himself. He soon becomes a liability to whatever community they find themselves, the family, the school. In fact, they are a stressor to their parents and school, teachers, and all of that. And eventually, such children will become a liability to the community or society where they find themselves. Welcome to this session again. My name is Maribel Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And yep, I am the proud matron of the Children's Mastermind Circle, a mentorship program that we run for young children because we do not want to raise children who are not resourceful. We do not want to raise children who will become a problem to themselves, will become stressors to their parents and caregivers, and eventually will become a liability to the society. So we are putting in the work today. We are doing the work today, and we are starting early because we want to raise children who are powerful, children who are resourceful, children who are impactful, and children who will make a difference in their generation. If you are with me right now, you can see me and you can hear me, and you have a friend who needs to be here right now. Why don't you take a minute, and invite them to be a part of this session, because it's going to be informative, it's going to be educative, and yes, you will take a few tools from here that you can apply in your parenting straight up. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Invite somebody. And yes, if you are joining us for the first time, please say something in the comment section. I like to communicate, and I like to interact. Okay, so let us know that you have joined us for this session, and of course where it is that you are joining us from. As I said, I will repeat again. A child who is unprepared will be a problem to themselves, will become a stressor to their parents and their community wherever they find themselves, and eventually will become a liability to the society. That is what you don't want to do to your precious child, dear parents. That is what you don't want your precious child to become. And so the onus is upon us to start right now. Thank you for joining me. To start right now to raise that child who would be everything else but what we have just mentioned here. Now, sadly, an unprepared child is a creation of bad parenting, or unintentional parenting. Yes. So when we raise unprepared children, it's usually because we have either not been intentional about our parenting, and that could be as a result of what we know or do not know. So the kind of children we raise is dependent on what we know or do not know, or what we did or did not do while we are raising these children. So how do you place yourself, or how do you position yourself as a parent who knows what to do, or at least who knows where to get help when they do not know what to do? Because children do not happen, or intentionality or prepared children do not happen magically. They happen because someone has invested time, someone has taken responsibility to raise people who are grounded and resourceful. So, dear parents, the question today is, are you ready to raise children who are grounded and responsible? Are you ready to put yourself in that place where knowledge is not a challenge? In that place where because you did not know what to do, you don't end up making a mess of your process and making a mess of the precious gift that God has given to you just because you didn't know what to do. Okay, so we're going to jump in and we will look at what an unprepared child looks like. Who is an unprepared child? If you're watching me on YouTube and you do not follow us on YouTube yet, or you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, why don't you take the next minute to click on that subscription button right away so that you can subscribe and join us, in our YouTube channel, right? We have loads and loads of resources that will bless you. And if you're on Facebook, why are you not following us? Why don't you go ahead and follow us right away, right? And so that you can be a part of all the amazing resources and tools that we share here to help parents position themselves to be advantageous to their children. Now, this is what an unprepared child looks like. An unprepared child looks like a child without the right tools. So when we do not employ the right tools in our parenting, we end up raising children who do not have what they need, right, to thrive. We end up raising children who are ill-equipped to navigate life at every phase of it. Now, if you have a young child who is unable to navigate life as a young child, what happens is they are not prepared for the next phase. So that's the problem. Parenting has a ripple effect in the life of a child. It doesn't end with what you're not doing right now. It goes on to affect what happens to the child, right, later and later and later in their lives. So, for instance, in the foundation phase of a child's life, if you are that parent that because you didn't know what to do, or because you chose or couldn't do what you had to do because of your limitations or because of ignorance, what will happen is you will not just sabotage that phase of the child's life. What will happen is you don't get to prepare the child for the next phase of the child's life. So it begins to roll like that. The ripple effect goes on and on and on until before you know it, we have raised children, or we have raised children who are not equipped to navigate life. So if you do not have the right tools, or you do not employ the right tools in your parenting, you will end up raising children who are not equipped. You will end up raising children who are not prepared for life, whether for life as teenagers or life as young adults or life itself as an adult. So a child who is not equipped, a child who is not skilled, a child who doesn't know what to do given different situations in life is an unprepared child. A child who doesn't know what to do when they find themselves in different situations in life, or doesn't know where to turn to or who to seek help from, that child is not a prepared child. Because when we equip children, what happens is we give them the skills that they need to navigate life on their own. And even when they don't have those skills, we equip them and we give them where to run to. They know who to seek help from. They know who to listen to. They know what to listen to, and they know where to seek help. Okay, so all of this, it's not about the child being excellent or perfect, rather. It's about the child knowing where to seek help and where to turn to, even when they do not know what to do, or when they find themselves in situations where they do not know what to do. So yes, an unprepared child is a child who doesn't have the right tools to navigate life. Is a child who was not raised with the right tools to navigate life. That child will be unprepared for whatever phase of life that they find themselves. The next one is a child who doesn't have a present parent. Parents, by now, if you have been following me or you have been walking any intentional parent journey, you would know that parenting is one of those things that you cannot outsource. I said it. Parenting is one of those things that you cannot outsource, right? or at least you cannot outsource unintentionally. So if you are going to be absent for any reason in the life of your child, then you must have positioned the right people in the life of your child. So yes, because you would ask the question, how about children whose parents are not alive anymore? That's why we say, even if it's one day you have with your child, make sure that you spend that day equipping your child. Imagine at every point, this is what I do. I imagine at every point that I am not present in my children's life. If I am, this is the question we ask ourselves every time in our parenting. If I am not present in my child's life today, what would they do? How would they navigate life on their own? Now, if you have this question constantly pressing in your mind, then you will realize that you have work to do while you are with your children. You will not take the time that you have with your children for granted. In fact, you will not be entitled to think that you will always be there. So, knowing full well that you won't be there always, you will find yourself putting your children in positions where they can navigate without you. Okay, I shared the story last week when a friend of mine was upset with me because, according to her, I was getting the children to do stuff for themselves before they go to school. Like our son at the time, 10, 11, had to wake up, to put his food together around, 10, 11, that was the time. Okay, so he had to get up in the morning, to get their food, pack their lunch boxes. Okay, pack their lunch boxes, and all of that, get himself and his sister's stuff ready for school, and all of that. Now, the truth about it is, imagine that for some reason, because there were times like that where I wasn't available and he had to step in to sort them out because over the years, they had learned how to navigate this terrain, even at the time when I was there. So that's your job, or that's our job as parents, to ensure that at the time that we are present, we are training our children, we are equipping our children, we're helping our children navigate these terrains on their own while we watch them. So, dear parents, are you teaching your child? Apart from teaching, are you allowing your children take the front stage or take the lead in doing things for themselves? Are you allowing your children practice these things? Are you ensuring that you create a system in your home where your children are constantly having to help themselves or direct themselves, right, to navigate these terrains? Because the truth about it is, a child who is not equipped, will become a problem to themselves when you are not present. The child will find themselves in a place you are not there, and the child cannot help themselves. If there is nothing else there's nothing else you want to do as a parent, don't put your child in a position where your child is not constantly helpless without the help of other people or without the contribution of other people. Don't leave your child in a position where when you are not there, your child is helpless, because then you would have done your child a disservice. Because who wants their child to be useless because you're not there? And who are you? Are you God to think that you will always be there? So you won't always be there. And in not being there, it could be anything. It could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be death. And yes, even if it is death, you're going to live forever. None of us is going to leave this earth alive, right? So since we know that none of us is going to leave this earth alive, and your prayer is that you leave it before your child, so wouldn't you rather prepare your child for a time that even when you are not there, the child is able to navigate without you? This is what we are talking about. So when you are a present parent, you ensure that you can see the needs that your child has per time, and you are filling out, or you are helping the child navigate through those needs, or those needs at every point. Now, even when you have some other person stand in the gap for you, or other people support your child, then you would have positioned the right people who share your values, people who share share the same vision that you share. People that you leave your child with, and you know that your child is in safe hands, or you know that your child is in a place where the child will be supported. So in that case, we know that you're not just absent in the life of your child, you have put your child in the hands of trusted adults. So you are still present in the life of your child because intentionality is being present in the life of your child. Right? Intentionality is being present in the life of your child. Bring us to what we talk about when we talk about partnership, right? Because partnership is a key part in your parenting journey. So yes, a child who doesn't have a present parent is a child who is not prepared, who is not prepared for any phase at all of their life. So dear parents, be present. And in that presence, in being present, please ensure that you are present to equip your child. You are not just present physically, you are present with tools. You are present to support your child. You are present to parent your child. You are present to support your child to navigate through the different phases and different aspects of life. Very important. Number 3, a child who is not helped to understand the why. A child who is not helped to understand the things that happen around them. Now, you can be present in the life of your child and you are not even helpful to that child. Some of us have children that cannot even come to us and ask questions because you are constantly in an aggressive, you're constantly in a don't come close mode. So your children cannot ask you questions. They can't ask you foolish questions according to you. They can't ask you, they can't ask you questions because their questions are disturbance to you. Now, when you are like that, your child will go about with too many questions that are unanswered. Your child will go about with too many unanswered questions because even though they want to ask these questions, they know that you will not be there to answer them, or they know that they will likely get into trouble for simply asking you questions, or they know that you would unruffle them, or you will leave them feeling worse than they were when they came to you. So parents, it is your job. It is our job as parents, especially as parents of young children, to leave a line of communication open, to be that parent that your child can come back to no matter what. That is how your children learn to trust you. That is what true connection is. True connection is actually when your child knows that they have access to you at all times. It's when your child knows that no matter what it is, no matter how foolish their question is, you would make time to either answer them or tell them you would do that later. So rather than say to your child, get out of here, leave me alone, I'm tired, what is it? Why don't you say to them, sweetheart, I'm tired right now, but let's talk about this later. Let's talk about this after daddy has rested for a few minutes, or just simply say to the child, why don't you come back at 6 p.m.? Let's talk about it. That way, you have not only told your child they are important, you have said to the child, whatever it is that you want to know or that you want to ask me, I am here for you. That is the reason your child will come to you even when they make mistakes. That is the reason your child will come to you even at the point where they are vulnerable. But if you're a parent that is always classifying their questions and placing them in stupid, sensible, and useless questions, then your child is constantly evaluating in his head, this question I'm going to ask, will it be a reasonable one? Will it be a sensible one? And you know what the brain does? The brain does not like stress. When you come with all of that, is it not, the brain just tells the child, don't worry, he will not even answer you at all. So don't bother. So your children learn not to ask you. But you know the funny thing about them not asking you? You know the funny thing about them not coming to you? It doesn't mean that they are not going to anyone else. So who knows? Your child might end up with that 10-year-old in his class that seems to know everything, even if he knows nonsense. Your child might end up with that auntie or that uncle on your street that seems to have their time, even if that time meant being abused. Your child will turn to that adult who probably is abusing them because, of course, this person has got time for them. Your child will turn to what pop culture says. They will turn to what the people the people on TV and the people online are saying, and they will get their answers because there's no vacuum, right? There's no vacuum anywhere. They will fill it up with something. So you either decide to take your position, right, as their parents, be available to them and help them understand the why behind the questions that they have, and help them understand the why behind the things that happen around them. There should be no subject at all in this life that you cannot talk to your child about. What you need to do is speak to your child about these things in age appropriate ways. So be the first person that your child gets to know about the weirdest, the most difficult topics or subjects. Be the first person that gives them a perspective on that thing. Let your child be happy, glad, and so excited to run to you every time there is a new thing that they are wondering about. Whether it's something that they heard their classmates talk about, it's something that they heard in passing in the movies, it's something that they heard other kids in their class hushing and whispering about. Let the first thing that comes to your child's head or to your child's mind as soon as they hear those things be, I'm going to go and ask my mommy about it. I'm going to go and ask my father about it. See, parent, you want to position yourself in the life of your child in such a way that your child looks forward to the moment with you bringing new things and new things that they heard or they learned, right to you. Let your child be excited about coming to tell you stuff. There was one time in my son's life when our son was about four, 5 thereabouts. Every time something happened at home, he's watching something with his dad, his father has just told him something or have just explained something to him, the next thing he will say is, I can't wait to tell Mr. Teso this. Mr. Teso was his science teacher in class. That thing, it was huge for me, right? I think that was the first time that mentorship, like I gleaned light into mentorship and how powerful it can be for our son. Because at the time he was only about 4 years old. He's watching, my husband loves cars, right? So he's watching, something on Top Gear with his dad. And he discovers something, the size of an engine, how the engine works, how something in the car works. And the next thing he's saying is, whoa, I can't wait to tell Mr. Teso. So in my head, I was wondering, I hope in school he goes, I can't wait to tell my mommy. I can't wait to tell my daddy. So because of that, I was forced to get closer to Mr. Teso because I was intrigued by the fact that our son wanted to tell him everything new, everything, exciting, everything interesting that he learned from home, right? And I was hoping that, that's the same way. And yes, we made sure it was like that because I started, see, parents, your job is to engineer things into the life of your child. That's why you cannot help but be present in their life. When you are present, you would recognize your children in their different seasons. You would recognize your children in their different seasons, and you're able to engineer what it is that you want to see in that child's life in that season. Because as I said earlier, one season affects the next season. If you're not present in one season, if you get it wrong in one season, it's a ripple effect. It will roll into the next season. Okay? So, but if you get it right in one season, then you start preparing. One season prepares you and the child for the next season in their lives. So, very important. So, when I noticed how attached he was to Mr. Teso, okay, and not just in the way that children just like a person. It was more like he wanted to learn. He felt like he wanted to learn more because he needed what to talk to Mr. Teso about. So you could tell that his relationship with Mr. Teso. Good afternoon, Coach. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. So you could tell that his relationship with Mr. Teso was one of, knowledge. It was one of, exploration, new things. He was excited about new things. And yes, by the time I started knowing Mr. Teso more, I realized Mr. Teso was that teacher that would come into the classroom with a frog in a box. He would come into the classroom with a frog in a box to reinforce or to teach something. He will come with all kinds of weird things. He was a hands-on teacher. So I knew as in firsthand that our son was kind of effective. Right from that time, I knew that he was that person that learned through touching and doing. He loved the explorative part of his learning. Until this day, science talk and became, my son's favorite thing. All through his years in school and all of that. Little wonder he started teaching science on YouTube when he was 8. All thanks to Mr. Teso, Mr. Teso, Mr. Teso. So the same way, he came home, and this is what we started doing at home. He would come home and we're like, so what happened in school today and all of that? And then I'm like, oh, teach me, show me, tell me, So I started creating excitement at home too. We started creating excitement at home. What did you learn? What did you learn today? So that by the time he was coming home every day, he was also excited to come and tell us what had happened in school. So he was either telling us about something that happened with a classmate or something that happened in this class or that class. And so it became an excitement thing for him. Whether he's in school or at home, he was excited to talk about the things happening in his life. This is how you engineer things in the life of your children. Very, very key. Okay, so number 3, I said, the child must have answers. You must position yourself to help the child understand the things that happen around them. All the why questions, okay? All the why question, why this, why that, who this, what, let them know, okay? There is no subject that is new under the sun, and there is no subject that is too heavy for you to discuss with your child. All you need to do is teach or introduce them in age-appropriate ways, okay? The law of first mention is a thing, and you want to maintain it in your relationship with your child. Let it be known that the first time your child heard about anything at all, it was from home. Let it be known that when the subject came up in the classroom, your child is able to say, oh, my mom told me that. My dad told me that. Let your child have at all times your family perspective to every subject. LGBTQ, religion, marriage, education, play, whatever at all. Let your child always speak from the perspective, right, and from the value point of your family, because you have taken the time to be present and you have mentioned and you have helped the child understand the why, the things around them. When you do this, your child is always open, always excited, always willing to come back to you rather than go anywhere else. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, you want to make sure that your child is mentored. So a child who is unprepared is a child who is not mentored. Mentorship is a gift. Mentorship is a gift that opens doors to things that your child has not thought about, to things that your child has not seen, to things that are possible that your child has not even ventured into. Now, it's not that the child is even these things are not just being mentioned. These things are taught, and your child is guided by someone that has been there and done that. Someone that has experienced these things, someone that has good knowledge and experience of these things. So you want to be the one to introduce your child to the place of higher knowledge. Let your children know that there is always a higher knowledge on every subject. So when you do this, you teach your children not to have arrogance of nature of knowledge, and then you also teach your child not to think of themselves as people that have arrived at any point. So when you introduce mentorship to your children early, and you put your children in a place where they understand sitting at the feet of people to gain or glean insight and knowledge through mentorship or coaching, then you have positioned your child in a place where your child is always hungry for knowledge and for wisdom. So it is not enough that they go to church, and randomly they listen to what the pastor says, the priest says, the imam says, and all of that. You want to put them in a direct place where they are not just listening, but someone is holding them accountable. It hits differently. It hits differently. I was having a conversation with my 16-year-old son the other day. So our son recently started, not recently, for about a year now, right, has been listening to a thought leader, John Obidi. Okay, so he actually joins his night school. That night school is from 9 p.m. to about 12 a.m. or even longer sometimes on Saturday nights. Now, he diligently, as in, he does it like he prepares himself for that class every weekend. He doesn't miss that class, as in, if it's within his power, he will not miss that class. In fact, sometimes it's when we are upset with him or for some reason we say, you know something, no night school today, go and sleep. I mean, you can't go to night school and then tomorrow you're not waking up early for church, all of those kind of things. Right. Now, diligently he shows up. Now, there are mentorship programs that he belongs to, right, that's he doesn't necessarily have to stay. In fact, they don't have classes every week for 3 hours, and all of that long time. Yet, some of the assignments or things that he has to do there, he misses them here and there. So when I come to check on him, every weekend that we check, what's been going on in your programs and all of that, because I mean, he's 16, I can't be there, I can't be following him up and down to show up for his programs, right? So when I reach out and I'm like, oh, what's going on with this program or that program? He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a little behind, 1 day, 2 days. I'm like, do you know? So I had a conversation with him a few days and I said, do you know why you can be, you can show up for a program that is intense and takes such long hours, and all of that. And yet one that is not that intense, and it's not necessarily because this one has the better value, or you are not even evaluating it from that point. It's because one holds you accountable, like the accountability is closer. Now you have been given a project or something, you've been given something to do, you have to turn it in. Someone is asking you, why didn't you, and all that. That's it. The other one, on the other hand, is, a big program for everyone. So you are gleaning knowledge from there. You're taking in, you're internalizing that knowledge, but nobody's, holding you accountable, and all of that. So you see the difference. These two scenarios or these two programs are equally, right? They are equally beneficial to him. The both programs, are equipping him, the both programs, but he's showing up, right? It's easy for him to show up for the one, that nobody's holding him accountable and all of that, because there's no accountability and no one is demand. There is no actual demand from you, right? So accountability forces you, right? Accountability forces you to run with instructions. So he can listen to one program, just listen and probably not even, implement it, and no one would say anything or no one would know. It just, as it's free will. You do as you like with this one, right? Take what you want to take, leave what you don't want to take. Nobody's going to ask you questions. You should be able, it's a program for much older people anyway. So yes, the program is not structured, right, to get you to report, where you're at and all of that. But this other one that will hold you accountable becomes a bit more difficult, because accountability is not easy. So what mentorship does, right, in the way that I'm talking about, is it holds your child accountable and teaches your child accountability early in life. So it teaches them accountability early in life, because I promise you, go and ask anybody at all, accountability is not easy. Why do you think, every time you are in a place where you're in a place where the searchlight is on you, or you're in a place where certain things are demanded and you cannot hide? Why do you think every time that people need to show up and show results and all of that, you see less people in places like that? That's why people like to stay in the backstage. That's why a lot of people like to stay in the backstage where nobody's going to ask you questions, nobody's going to ask you how you're doing. And so when you go to systems where it's intentional, systems where you are required to be meticulous, systems where you are held accountable. You see, a lot of us, especially people from this part of the world, we don't want to be in such systems, so we want to maneuver or look for a way to get out of the systems. But where systems where anyhowness is allowed, or systems where it's so big that nobody will notice whether you're there or you're not doing the right thing, it's easy to just mingle with the crowd and, yes, take whatever you want to take, provided nobody's going to ask you questions. So accountability that comes with mentorship is key. And if you're going to train your children's ears for instructions, which is a key thing for people raising young children, you want to make sure that if you do nothing else, you train your child to take instructions and run with instructions. I like the way my coach Wendy, puts it. She says, God cannot use a person who does not listen or run with instructions. So if you don't raise your child today to learn to listen and to run with instructions, you are doing them a disservice, because now you are not prepping your children for discipline. You're not prepping your children for showing up strong. You're not prepping them in a world right now where the world is for people who show up, and not just show up, they show up strong and they show up consistently. If you're not going to teach your children or prep them right now to learn to show up and show up strong and consistently, then you're doing them a disservice, because mentorship is one of the things that will teach them to show up strong and show up consistently, because they have been drilled, they've been held accountable, and they've had to show up to meet the expectations of their mentors. Very key. Now, this is why we started the Children Mastermind Circle. Right? Because we understand that this thing, the resourceful child that your child will be at 16, is not going to be formed when the child is 16. The resourceful child that you want your child to be at 16 is the 2-year-old, will form as a result of what your child is learning at age 2. So don't kid yourself. This is the time. So that's why our mentorship in the Children Mastermind Circle begins when the child is 5. From 5 years old, we begin to train their habits. We begin to train their habits. We begin to prepare their ears for instructions. We give them instructions daily. Yes, we give them instructions daily, because we understand that this is the foundation. And if we get the foundation right, then you would have children who would navigate. Even if they fall out here and there, you will see more children who can navigate on their own without you chasing them and all of that. So even when I see, when I come and I'm asking our son, how many times did you show up for your this and all of that? And he goes 5 times, 6 times, 4 times. For me, it's more like, you got to show up on your own with zero supervision 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times in a week. We've done something, right? We've done something. And so because we know that he's still a child that is it's still a work in progress. So that's why we still put the system where we check on him every weekend, even at 16. So we still have a system where we check on him every weekend, and we're able to say, what were you able to do for the entire week? So that way we are able to prompt, we're able to, remind him of where the focus is, where he's supposed to go, and what our expectations are, so that he can get back on track. Very important, right? That you are present, very important that you're answering their why, and very, very important that you are preparing your child's ears to run with instruction. You are preparing them to be responsible people. Okay? And then the last one, through mentorship, of course. The last one I'm going to be talking about today is you are preparing your child to take responsibility. You are preparing them to take responsibility, or a prepared child is a child who takes responsibility. A prepared child is a child who knows what to do, who has who knows what to do on, and who knows what is expected of him. Okay? Now, if your children do not know what it is that you expect of them at every point, then they can't be prepared because they don't even know what is expected of them. And that expectation spans, far and wide. What is, or what are your expectations as a family? I think we're having. Sorry. Okay, looks like we're back on. Okay, so this responsibility includes what are your expectations as a family, right? Your family values, right? Your family values. What legacy are you building as a family? What's the legacy that you're building as a family? What identity do you have as a family? So does your child know who he is? Does your child know who he is, and by extension, who your family, what your family is? Does your child know who he is as a Chiman? Does he know who he is as a Bolaji? Does he know who he is as an Adekunle? Does he know who he is as as a member of the Usman family? Does your child know who he is? What does it mean to say this is who we are? Very critical, because if your child doesn't know what is expected of him, he will go out and be whatever it is there is to be out there. So yes, being responsible includes knowing what you are expected, right, to be as a person, as an individual, as a member of this family. Who are you? Being responsible means knowing what you are expected to do. What do we do here? We don't do that here. Does your child know what you do as a family? Does he know what is expected of him as a part of this family? Does he know the kind of behavior that is accepted as a member of this family? The kind of behavior that we don't care how many people do it out there. We don't care that your whole class is, for it. We don't care that your entire school is for it. We don't care that the whole street is for it. Who are you? What can you do as a member of this family? We don't do that here. Does your child know that? Does your child know that? Then apart from that, does your child own up to the things that they, when they make mistakes and when they go wrong, do they own up, or are they constantly looking for the next person to move or shift the blame to? Because the moment the child is in that place, it means the child is not taking responsibility for their actions. That on its own is a huge challenge. That's an unprepared child, a child who doesn't understand that you won't always get it right, a child who doesn't understand that mistakes is part of the growth process. And so when you make those mistakes, you're supposed to own up to them and then go back to the drawing board, ask for help, come to us. Your child needs to know that if your child is not in that space, then your child is not prepared. Your child is not prepared for this phase. And of course, if they're not prepared for this phase, then there's going to be a challenge for the next phase of their lives. So because we know that parenting has a ripple effect in the growth and development of your child, it is sacrosanct, dear parents, that at every phase and every point in our children's life, we are doing everything within our power to ensure that our children are prepared. You are equipping them to be prepared. You are equipping them. You are present in their life. You are ensuring that they have mentorship and support. You are ensuring that their questions are answered. So they understand the why behind the things around them. They understand the things that happen around them, their world. For every subject that your children have to talk about, they have to contribute to, they have to say anything about, there is a perspective that they have that comes from you because you mentioned it first. Very key. And then the last one we're going to be talking about today is perspective. A child who is prepared is a child who has a perspective to the things that happen around them. Is a child who has a certain perspective. And that perspective is a perspective that has been passed on from you to them. So what does your child believe in? Your child's beliefs should be an excerpt of your belief. We're not saying control your children, but if you've positioned yourself as a present parent and you have passed down your convictions to your child, then you will find that at every point, your child's perspective will be laced with what you believe in and what your own convictions are. So what's your child's perspective to things will say if that child has been prepared. Very important, okay? Now, let's look quickly before we go. This class is not supposed to be more than 40-50 minutes. So let's do it in 50 minutes. All right. So now let's look at the 7. I call it the 7 P's, right? The 7 P's of, what it means or what it looks like to prepare your child, right, for this phase of their life and for the next phase of their life. Now, we talked about present. Now, for you to prepare your child for the next phase of your life, parents get set to be present in their lives. Get set to be present in their life. Don't just be present. Be present with systems. Be present with structures. Be present, right, with convictions. Be present with your beliefs. Be present with whatever it takes to equip your child to navigate life with or without you. So ensure that you are present in your child's life. That's what it takes to prepare them. Number 2, you can't do this without God. If you want to try it. Come and tell us the result. The truth about it is you will have to sit and anchor these on God. You are not just going to position yourself as that parent that your child knows as a prayer warrior that's always praying for them. You want to lead your child to God. Let your child see. Let your child know God for themselves. Every time you think that what you know and your prayer is enough to cover you, your generations, and the next generation, then that's enough. You're doing them a disservice. You want to lead your child to God. Let your child know God for themselves. I remember back then in university, right? I know there was that saying every time, something happens in school, someone gets into some trouble or gets into a situation and they come out of it. And you will hear, I know that is the prayer of my mother. I did not say mommies cannot pray or that our parents' prayers are not key. But how about your own prayer? Why is your own prayer not saving you? All right. So we want to ensure that we do not give our children, right, that mindset, or don't give them, that belief that they don't have to pray because you are praying for them. They need to know God. Right? They need to know God. Let them see your God. Let them know your God. And then let them find your God as well. Very important. Number 3 is preparation. I have said, if you don't prepare them for one phase, you will mess up that phase and the next phase of the child's life. So yes, you must prepare. And preparation is not done on the day of war. It is done before war. So what phase? What are you seeing your child coming into? Who is that child? If you know who your child is, then you know how to prepare them for this phase and the next phase of their life. The most intentional parents are the parents who are able to preempt their children. The most intentional parents are the parents who are able to preempt, who are able to prepare beforehand, whatever the word is for that. Okay? The parent who is able to, walk from, forward, backward, right? If you're able to look at the future and walk backward, right, then that's a parent that is intentional. When you're preparing your child, not just for today, but preparing your child for the future, knowing full well that you're not raising a child, you're raising them for the adults that they will become. So why don't you parent from that point backwards? So the most intentional parents are the parents who parent backward. You're able to visualize, right, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, and then you parent backward. Very important. The next one is perspective. I talked about perspective already. All right. You want to make sure that as a parent, to prepare your child, then you have your child's ears filled with your perspective to life. I always say to the children in the mastermind, perspective is every time you look at a tree, you will see that tree from the point view from the point that you are viewing the tree from. And that point becomes your perspective of that tree. It doesn't mean that the person who is seeing it from behind is lying, right? But hey, you're seeing it from this view, and you want to help your child understand, right, the view from which you see life. Let them understand life from your view, and they're able to use that to make sense of what other views or other perspective, that they will come to see. But you want your view or your perspective to be the foundation for every subject and every aspect of your child's, growth and all that your child is learning. All right. The next P is purpose. Purpose. Preparing your child is helping your child understand that they were created for a purpose. Help your child understand that purpose. Help your child live that purpose every day. Help your child live in that purpose every day. Help your child understand the place of purpose every day. Let them know that their life is bigger than them, and let them know that they were created to fulfill something that God predestined right from the very beginning. When that is the case, then your child understands that life is bigger, or that they're living for something bigger than themselves. When you know that you're living for something bigger than you, then you know that every level or every stage that you get in life is just, it's just a bit of what is possible. So when children know that there's something bigger than them, then they keep reaching for more. They keep reaching for greater heights, and they keep giving, right? So let them know that they're a well that can keep giving, because they have been created to give, and they've been created, they have too much in them. So when the child grows with this mindset that you are a whole well because there's something that is greater than you, then the child becomes someone that is constantly giving, right? And then the child knows that there is a purpose for which I have been created. And part of that purpose is to keep giving, because there is more from where I am giving. So you want to introduce your children to purpose. You want to make them understand that God created them for something more than what it is that they are doing today. And you want to help them live in that purpose every day. I say to the children of the mastermind every morning, or when they wake up, I say to them, go out there and live the purpose for which God created you, or God is keeping you today. So every day there is a purpose for today. So I tell them, go and live in today's purpose, because you see, this purpose is not hanging on any tree. It is what we are created to do every day, and because the well is deep, and because it is inexhaustible, right? Then every day there is something great and something huge to discover and to live for. When this is what you are passing down to your children, you will raise children who are not limited, children who are not small in their minds, and children who cannot be reduced to nothing by other people, because they know who they are, and they know who God says they are, and they know that God has got plans for them. Very important. Then the last one is partnership. Who are you partnering with? Dear parents, at every stage of your children's life, make sure that you are partnering with support systems that will help you not miss your way. I said it at the beginning. A lot of times, the reason why your child is not prepared is because of what you do not know, or what you know and you do not know how to go about. So ignorance can steal, from your child, Yes, ignorance can make you end up raising children who are not prepared for life. All right. So it is humbling, right? And it is humility to say to yourself that there is something more to know. Okay. And there is higher knowledge. It is available. So connect with it. Get yourself into a system, a parenting system where you are learning for yourself, because it starts with you. Get into the Intentional Parent Academy, where you are constantly learning. And don't just leave learning to yourself. Raise children who are learning and, of course, are building themselves. I told my children just yesterday, You are, as in, my daughter had finished and she carried her bag and she was on her way to school. So I looked at the room and I turned and I said, Ogini auntie, where are you going to? And she said, I'm ready for school. I'm like, which school? Have you finished this school here before you're going to that school? You see, this one in this house is the most important school. The school that makes you get out of your room and your room is spick and span. The school where you have developed yourself first. The school that is teaching you that you need to be organized, that you need to be disciplined. The school that first teaches you to be disciplined. The school that first teaches you to be aware of yourself, aware of your environment, aware of your purpose, aware of who you are, aware of who God says you are, and aware of the kingship that is in you that God expects of you daily. When you are finished with that school, then we can go and learn math and English. Nay, back to your room. When you are done with school one, then we can go to school two. When children understand this, then they know that developing themselves, personal development is non-negotiable. So who is partnering with you? Who are you partnering with to ensure that your children's ears are trained so that they are listening to you and they can listen to these people that you have positioned, or this person that you have positioned in their life for time? Let no child be without a mentor at every phase of their lives. Don't do that to your child. That's why I said we created the mastermind circle. So we're registering. Registration is open right now. If you have children between ages 5 and 10, this is where you want them to be, because we have structured the mastermind circle and we have built a curriculum and a system that caters for this phase and this age of the children's life. So we have put the things that children need between ages 5 and 10, when they're just coming out of that first phase, foundation stage, and then we're able to nip a lot that probably have been missed in that phase, or we're able to put together so much to build them in this phase of their life where they are constructing, and then we're able to extend that right till they're about 10, where identity, they're beginning to align with their identity, with their individuality. This is such a powerful time in the life of the child, a time where the child needs people that needs people that they can trust, need a support system that they can rely on. They need voices that they can be, that voices that they will answer to. You know how the Bible says that, I know my sheep and my sheep knows me. You want to ensure that during this phase of your children's life, they know the voices that they should listen to, and they listen to those voices with everything. Because during this phase, the child is willing. The child is in that place where the child still wants to. The child is still malleable. The child is in that place where they want to listen and they want to do the right thing. So you want to catch them young at that phase. You want to push in as many skills as possible in that phase. You want to push in the right habits in that phase. You want to train their ears for instructions in that phase. So by the time your child steps into age 11, 12, and by the time they arrive at the gate of 13, when they become teenagers, you have a highly resourceful teenager. You have a teenager who is open to learning, a lifelong learner. You have a teenager who is open to taking instruction. You have a teenager who can be resilient, who's got grit, and who is able to navigate, because you have ensured that they have been trained. You've ensured that they have been prepared, because an unprepared child will be a problem to themselves. An unprepared child will weary you as a parent. Yes, an unprepared child will weary you as a parent, will sabotage themselves, and of course will become a liability to their society or community. And you don't want that for your child. Thank you for joining me today. If you like your child or you like to register your child into the mastermind circle, we have the information at the end of this video. Just check in the comment section and you can use that to reach out to us, or just simply write, just simply type mentor and we will send you all the details that you need to book a slot for your child for the next cohort of the Mastermind Circle. And guess what? We have a free conference that is coming up in the next 2 weeks or thereabout. From the 22nd to the 24th of May, we have the Young and Empowered Children's Conference. Because, yes, your child is not too young. Okay, so the theme of this conference is we want to empower the children before the world programs them. Because the world that we have today is they're programming children with all the wrong things. And so if those who are programming know that your child is not too young to be programmed, why do you not think that your child should be empowered? So we want to partner with you to empower your child. So that conference is for you and for your child. So why don't you lock it in right now by registering for the conference or joining the wait list, right? So that you'll be the first to get into that room and get ready. We're bringing powerful speakers and young speakers that your children will listen to and relate to, even as they share deep insight and their own journey. And for you, parents, we have powerful speakers that will be sharing insight with you. You don't want to miss the conference. And yes, as I said, your child needs mentorship. Why don't you get them on board the Mastermind Circle? Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you for joining us. We'll be here again at 2 p.m. next week, Thursday. Keep a date with us. And remember to invite your friends. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that right now and follow us on Facebook and all other handles. And does your child have copies of our books? If your child does not have copy of our books, you're wrong, because we don't just tell stories. We created a narrative that books, if you want to raise children who are lifelong learners, then books are not just a part, shouldn't be just a part of your family. They should be essential staples in your home. Shared reading should be something you do with your children frequently. It doesn't only allow you to bond, it helps you sell the right perspective to your children. So our Skill Up series, amazing series for your children, 8 plus. Okay, so if you have children 8 and above, they can read the Skill Up series. Okay, where children excel within beyond the classroom. This one is our money book, Young and Money Smart, for your 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds and above. Then we have Who Am I Becoming? All these are part of our Skill Up series. Who am I becoming? Then we have The Enemy Who Stole My Time and How I Can Get It Back. Amazing books for your children. Identity, time management, self-management. This is Destined for Greatness. We can't stop talking about purpose and what your child is destined for. Grab a copy of this. Then we have Wisdom Stories for Champions. This one talks about family values and staying together as a family. Then we have our Bedtime Stories for Champions series. We have the Playtime Stories for Champions. We have Mira the Courageous Bird and other stories in the Bedtime Stories series. We also have Far Away from Home. We're reading this one in the Mastermind Circle this month. Then we have Adama's Trip to Grandma's. All of these teaching family values. Then we have Christmas Stories for Champions. What Christmas used to be like for us growing up in the 80s and all of that. So these are all of our books. We have 12 of them all together. You can grab your copy for your child. We have them on Amazon. We have them on our seller store. And of course, we have physical copies or hard copies rather, and you can get them from major cities in Nigeria. We have distributors in the UK, US, and Ghana, and countries like that. So thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of the day and happy weekend as you get into the weekend. Bye. See you next time. Bye for now.